Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Yet another Cartoon Network original series is being moved to Max. Invincible Fight Girl was announced a few years back as being a Cartoon Network original series, and yet again, just like My Adventures with Superman, yet again, just like Unicorn Warriors Eternal, Batman Cape Crusader, it is being moved off of Cartoon Network onto another network or another platform. Invincible Fight Girl will be premiering on November 2nd on Adult Swim. And first and foremost, before we discuss the implications this has to Cartoon Network, I just want to briefly touch on Invincible Fight Girl. There's a full trailer showing us what this series is going to be about and what it's going to look like. And of course, as I said before, it gives us the November 2nd release date on Toonami, with episodes coming to Max the next day. Essentially, the series is following a girl who's an accountant but dreams of becoming the best wrestler in the world, and presumably this series is going to be her journey to becoming the best wrestler in the world. Kind of gives me vibes of Megalobox. I don't know if you guys saw that series on Toonami a few years back. I believe it was on around 2018 or 2019. It's an anime about this boxer who wants to become the best boxer in the world. Highly recommend watching that show, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet and don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, back to Invincible Fight Girl. The series, to me, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I'm not really all that interested in it. From the day it was announced, it was never something that really grasped my attention, and after seeing this first look at the series in the trailer that we got, I honestly don't think that I'm going to check it out. It's just really not a show that grasps my attention or interests me. But I will say, if you are interested in this series, definitely be sure to check it out, because it's one of the new properties that Cartoon Network is actually making. And what I mean by this is Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Discovery, as we've seen time and time again lately with them, they're pretty much only greenlighting new ideas for old properties. Essentially what I mean by this is like the new regular show we're getting, right? It's a revival of a former property in regular shows. Same thing with Adventure Time. I could go on and on and on, but they're not really making new ideas. They're not giving the green light to new creators to make brand new properties, and Invincible Fight Girl is that. It is a brand new property that is not attached to anything else prior to it. There is no media that this is being adapted from. It's a brand new idea. So if you are interested in this show, definitely give it a watch to show Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Discovery that we are interested in seeing new IPs. I know I'm saying this is something I'm not interested in checking out, and that's just because the premise of the show doesn't really appeal to me all that much. Like I said before, I've seen Megalobox. I really like that series. I don't really want to watch another one of that show. Maybe I'll give it a look down the line if you guys let me know in the comment section if it's really good or not. But nevertheless, the other part of this is that, like I said before, this show was supposed to be coming to Cartoon Network, and now it's going to Adult Swim, or rather Toonami. I feel like at this point, it's to be expected now with Cartoon Network that if there is a show coming out that they've announced for the channel, and it borders on anything that could be considered to be a little too violent or a bit action oriented, most likely it's going to be moved to Adult Swim. I said this before in the lead up to Total Drama Island's revival premiering on Cartoon Network here in the US, but I was fully expecting that series to move to Adult Swim. I said this before, but Total Drama Island, that franchise always, borderlines on being a show meant for young adults or teenage audiences, not a show meant for kids. There's a lot of deeper themes within those series, stuff that might not be that appropriate for children, so I figured that show would be moving to Adult Swim, but as we saw, it premiered on Cartoon Network. I could see that they were holding back certain things because it was on Cartoon Network. Maybe it wasn't as serious or didn't have these deeper themes in it like the original show had. Not to say that the original Total Drama was this deep, dark story going on there, but you guys know what I mean if you watch the original show. It just didn't have that same vibe that the original series had back in 2007. But nevertheless, like I said before, this is something to be expected now with Cartoon Network. It seems like or Warner Brothers Discovery, I should say. It seems like Warner Brothers Discovery is just taking resources and just putting it into Adult Swim, putting it into Toonami, which it's great to be bolstering that brand and bolstering the block of Toonami, because I will say that I feel like with AT&T and Warner Media, it was something that was kind of just forgotten about. Like, I know there were some Adult Swim originals. I know we did get Samurai Jack Season 5. I know we got Rick and Morty, stuff like that, but Adult Swim to Cartoon Network, it kind of felt like an afterthought to me. They just used it to rerun some old Fox shows like American Dad and, King of the Hill, stuff like that, Bob's Burgers. They didn't really have this wide library of brand new content for it. And now under the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella, we're seeing the opposite effect. We're seeing them take away content that was being produced for Cartoon Network in favor of airing it on Adult Swim, bolstering that brand, which again, I think it's good to be bolstering the brand of Adult Swim. I think it's good to be bolstering the brand of Toonami, because boy, Toonami, I want to make a video on this at some point in the not too distant future, but Toonami really needs some help right now, for being honest. I mean, Toonami is a shell of its former self. off. It's really sad to see what has happened to the block, but nevertheless, it's great to be seeing that Invincible Fight Girl will be bolstering both Toonami and Adult Swim, but at the same time, the fact that it's bolstering those lineups, the fact that it's bolstering those brands, means that it's taking away from Cartoon Network, and that's something that we've seen time and time again. As I mentioned before, Unicorn Wars Eternal, My Adventures with Superman, Batman Cape Crusader, all were supposed to premiere on Cartoon Network, and all of them moved off of the channel, either onto Adult Swim, or in the case of Batman Cape Crusader, on Amazon Prime Video. In some cases, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, because like for Batman Cape Crusader, that series definitely would not have been as dark as it was if it was on Cartoon Network, right? I feel like My Adventures with Superman probably would have been about the same. Unicorn Wars Eternal probably would have been about the same as well if it were on Cartoon Network, but I feel like if you want to take these shows that have these action elements in them, maybe they're a bit more serious, have a bit more of a plot going on within them, and move them to Adult Swim, that's perfectly fine to do that. But at the same time, if you're going to make that decision, if you're going to make that move, you have to have stuff to put on Cartoon Network, and that's where the lack of foresight is right now with Warner Brothers Discovery. They're making this bigger lineup, they're trying to bolster Adult Swim's branding, getting these shows onto the block and onto Toonami, which again is a good thing to be doing. But at the same time, if you're going to do that, you also have to be producing stuff for Cartoon Network, and that's what we haven't been seeing lately from them. And hopefully this changes in the future. Hopefully we start to see more stuff come to Cartoon Network outside of the Total Drama Island revival, which in all honesty, out of anything, that should have been on Adult Swim, which again, it's rather strange to be seeing that show was just on Cartoon Network. Imagine this really real quick, because again, this is about Invincible Fight Girl and them removing stuff from Cartoon Network for Adult Swim, but imagine if Total Drama Island was on Adult Swim with the next day it being on Max. Imagine how much more serious, imagine how much more mature the series would have been compared to what we got on Cartoon Network. That's an instance of where it should have been on Adult Swim, but that's neither here nor there. Same thing with if they do a new Ben 10, whenever they do the next Ben 10 or the Powerpuff Girls revival we talked about recently. Those are series that should also probably be on Adult Swim, just because stuff is being held back on Cartoon Network when it comes to having more serialized programming with more serious and darker tones in them. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't make content for Cartoon Network. There has to be a happy balance. Maybe your lighter-hearted comedic shows air on Cartoon Network and your more serious programs air on Adult Swim. Either way, you can't just be putting content on Adult Swim. That's my point. You need to be having some sort of a happy medium where, yeah, we're getting these great shows on Adult Swim like Invincible Fight Girl, My Adventures with Superman, Unicorn Wars Eternal, but we're also getting some awesome series on Cartoon Network as well, and the latter of which hasn't been happening over the past few years. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the fact that Invincible Fight Girl, yet another series, is being moved off of Cartoon Network in favor of airing on Adult Swim? And also, are you guys looking forward to Invincible Fight Girl? Do you disagree with me and think that this show looks awesome? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.